Hello. Glad you're back. I'm always glad you're back. Always glad you come in and watch this show. You come in from work, you come in from play, you come in from sports, you come in from being with family, whatever. Something makes you sit down and watch this show. And I know that if you connect with this show, if you feel like, my gosh, is anybody else even watching this show? This woman's talking to me. I feel like she's talking to me. Well, I am talking to you. I am. And I'm so glad you want to be a part of this. I'm so glad you're hungry for God. You're hungry just to know Him. You're hungry to serve Him. You know, you can't have a God be as kind and as good to us as our God is, that you want to do something good for Him. You can't help but want to. It's like, what can I do for you, God? How do you want to use my life? Use me, God. Use me in your kingdom's work. I don't care what it is. Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. Oh, there's one of you watching it right now. You're a man. You're about 23 to 26. You just got out of prison. You've been there a long time, too. And you think, okay, do I go back to my life of crime, my old friends? I don't want to, God. I don't want to. I found you in jail. I'm out. You did a miracle for me. I'm out. How can I serve you, God? If you knew how many people in jail, in prison, had gotten the call of God to be a preacher, and they said nope and lived a wild life, ran from God. If you knew how many there are, I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard just about everybody in prison got a call from God to be some kind of a preacher. I don't know. What a thought. We're going to discuss today how to discover your destiny that God has for your life. You know, He's got one. It's all planned out. He knows every day of it. It's already over. In God, not in us. We don't have any idea what it is and how long it's going to last and what all it's going to be. But God is a planner. Now, I'm a planner. Are you a planner? I'm a planner. I don't like to just, I want to know how we're going to do it, what's going to happen, then how we're going to do it. And not only am I a planner, I'm a visionary. You give me anything to do, I'm going to think about 5 or 10 years from now, you know what we could really be doing? Like I'm writing a book right now, and it's called Whispering Warriors. And I've got people hired to help me write it for things that they do that I don't do, but it's based on my life. I've kept a journal. It's about 2,000 pages for over 50 years of my walk with God. And I want to write. God kept saying to me, write a book, write a book, write a book. It's your destiny. Write a book, write a book. Have a TV show, have a TV show. Go to other countries, go to other countries. Well, I didn't want to write a book. Now, I'm telling you, God can have a destiny and you don't want to do it. And then you do it and you love it. That's what can happen. So I finally said to God, after write a book, Betty, write a book, write a book. I finally said a few years ago, God, if that's really you, you know I don't want to write a book. I have no desire to do it. None. If you want me to write a book, God, you'll have to give me the desire to do it. I don't have any desire to do it. Next thing I know, I'm ready. I want to write a book. Did bells ring, angels sing, somebody bong me on the head? No. I just prayed a prayer. A month or so later, I thought, I want to write a book. I'm ready. I want to do it. That's crazy. No, it's not crazy. It's God. God's destiny for me. So I thought I'd write a book about my life in this journal. I mean, I've got it journaled, everything you can think of. All the times God's spoken to me, all the signs I've seen, all the miracles I've done, all the prophetic words I had, prophetic words I've given, people I've led to the Lord, raised my children, prayed for my kids. I mean, it's a real thing. Failures, they're in there. I thought, okay, that's the book I'm going to write. No, When I began talking to these two women, especially one woman in New York City that I was mentoring, and she said, I'll help you write it. I said, really? Yeah, I'll help you. I'd like to do that. Okay. And we talked on the phone. This is after I left New York, living in Austin, Texas. And we talked, okay, what's it really going to be? Both of us at the same time said, it's going to be a children's book online. They're going to read it on their iPads. And their caregivers are going to help them by reading it to them. But it's going to be from 3 years old to about 11 or 12 years old. We both knew it at the same time. I said, I know what it's supposed to be. I know what God wants. I'm to write a book teaching children how to know God intimately as a child and to do signs and wonders and miracles while they're still a child, even a little child. Because the Bible says a little child will lead them. Samuel in the Bible grew up to be one of the greatest prophets of all time. But when he was 3 years old, his mother took him to the temple. She hadn't been able to get pregnant. The priest said, go home, you're going to have a baby. She came back when he was 3 years old and left him at the temple. And that little 3-year-old boy grew up in the Lord, serving the Lord in the temple. It can happen to children. Never think your children can't do mighty works of God. There was a young girl that got captured and left Israel, went to, I think like Iraq or Turkey, I'm not sure. A general, famous army general, was going to lead everybody, and everybody was afraid of him in this country. He got leprosy. That little girl, about 11 years old probably, said to her mistress, if your husband, if my master would go to Israel, there's a man in Israel that can cure him of his leprosy. That general said, I'm not doing that. That's a country I don't even care about. Why would I do that? And one of his men said, well, what have you got to lose? Because she had said, if he'll go and wash in the Jordan, he'll be healed. And that general says, well, there's rivers here. I can do it here. The army guy said to him, so if it's that river, it's that river. Why don't you go? All right. So he goes. Obeys what the little girl said. And he met with a prophet, Elijah, or Elisha. I always get them mixed up. I'd have to be sure of it. Maybe it was Elisha. And Elisha said, go and dip 7 times in the river Jordan, and you'll be healed. Well, he didn't want to do that. Felt like a fool. But he did it. And when he came up out of the water, his leprosy was healed. So a child did that. I can tell you a time, a little bit older child, maybe 13. The Apostle Paul was his uncle. And he overheard, they're going to kill Paul, and this is how they're going to do it. That young boy was so brave. He went to the general of the Roman army in Jerusalem and said, I've got to speak to you. And the man said, come in, son. What? He said, they're going to kill Paul. And the general said, no, we're taking him to Rome to see Caesar. And they said, well, they're going to kill him. There's 40 men sworn that they will die. They'll be on the road, and they will die before he's not killed. The general said, get 400 soldiers, 600, however many it was, and we're out of here. And they took Paul to Rome. So children can do amazing things. Don't ever limit them and say, well, they're little. No. Well, can God do amazing things with you? I assume you're an adult. Maybe you're a child and you just heard me talk and you think, okay, yes, me, use me, God. He will. What if you're an adult? Well, I want to tell you something. I don't care where you live. I don't care what kind of government you have. I don't care how they're trying to push you down, keep you from doing anything. If you say to God, yes, I'll do anything you want me to do, anything. Just use me to my full potential. I want to do the most I can ever do. Be the greatest influence for good I can ever be. Yes, God, I can guarantee you no government, no group of people, no organization, no school, poverty. You say, well, I'm so poor. No, nothing can keep you from God's destiny for you. Nothing. Believe me. Do you hear me? Nothing. And everybody has a destiny. Everybody that's born, they were born for a reason. I don't care if you were the result of a rape. I don't care. God looks at you, sees you, just you for you, and He has a destiny for you. However you got here, and you may say, I have all these marks on my face, or I know people I know a guy that doesn't have arms or legs, has a little flipper foot. That's all. He was born that way. He wanted to kill himself. He wanted to die. I can be nothing in life. Oh my goodness, he gave his life to God. He's been all over the world. They set him up on a table. That's all. He's gotten married and had 3 kids. Listen, nothing stops our God. Don't ever think anything does. I know a lady one time was laying in the hay when she was about 12 years old, living on a farm, laying in the hay. And she said, I saw myself wearing beautiful gowns. And I was up in front of thousands of people, and I was speaking. Well, that was God revealing her destiny to her. God will call you and tell you where He wants you. You got to be listening, but you'll know it's God. And what happened to that woman? Oh, 20 years later, I heard her speaking on a stage, and she had a beautiful gown on, and she was beautiful. Kind of looked like a movie star. So, is there something you wish you could do? If God said to you, I'll let you do anything you want to do, because I've made you, I put it in you, what would you like to do, honey? I would have said, God, I want to go all over the world. I want to have exciting adventures. I want to meet interesting people. I want to meet people from every nationality, every race, everything. I would have said that as a child. In fact, I did say that as a child of God. And the first thing I did was I got a pen pal from India. So there's something inside you that God has put inside you that is your destiny. It's what you're good at. Maybe you're a good lawyer. Maybe you can really handle people in a good argument. Maybe you're a brave warrior. Even as a child, you stand up for people. It will be something you like. Maybe you're a really good teacher. You got a little brother, little sister, you say, here, let me teach you how to tie your shoes. Let me teach you how to fix this. Let me teach you how to cook. We can cook for mommy. It's whatever you're called to be, it's already in you. You just have to discover it. Some people never discover it until maybe late in life. Colonel Sanders. Now, you don't live in America. There's it's Colonel Sanders chicken, fried chicken. When he was about 60 years old, he felt like, I'm such a failure. I've never been what I knew I could be. And about that time in his life, he found a chicken recipe that it was different from all other fried chicken. And he became a multimillionaire through Colonel Sanders chicken. It's amazing. So what does God say? That you can take it to the bank. I'm not lying to you. Psalms 139:16. God, you saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. So God's got your destiny already written in the book. I don't want you to miss it. How about this one? Jeremiah 1:5. I knew you before I formed you. Now think about what I'm saying. You weren't even in your mother's stomach. Before that, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart. And I appointed you as my prophet to the nations. You know what? God will give you Bible verses. If you learn to get in the Bible and ask God to speak to you every time you read the Bible, He'll speak to you. I think God gave me that verse maybe 25 or 30 times at the craziest times. One time gave it to me 5 times in 1 week. It's like, okay, I am going to the world. I just keep waiting, but I am going, and I'm going to be a spokesman to the nations. Well, let me just ask you this. What nation are you in right now? And you're watching me. I'm speaking to you. That's that verse, Jeremiah 1:5. Or maybe you live in America, but you're from another country. Or maybe your parents are from another country. They're immigrants. You may be a natural-born American, or maybe you came to America. But you are what God said. Before you were born, before I was born, God set me apart, appointed me as a prophet to the nations. You're a nation. I love the nations. What else did God say to me? See, you got to have God speak the word to you. Isaiah 49:5-6. I will make you a light to the nations of the world, to bring my salvation to them too. Well, if you've watched these shows, every single show, I give you a chance. Ask Jesus into your heart. Be saved. Be born again. Go to heaven. Ask Him. Just like a childlike faith. Right this second, God, I want to be saved. I want Jesus in my life. I want you in my heart. Come into my heart, Jesus, right this minute. Comes right that minute. So here's another one. Did you know a Jewish person can be called to Gentiles to preach to them? Oh, man, that was far out. I can tell you, God can call you to far out things. Maybe they've never even been done yet. But you can be called to them. Apostle Paul, Galatians 1:15. But even before I was born, 3 times in the Bible, before I was born, God chose me and called me by His marvelous grace. Then it pleased Him to reveal His Son to me. Listen, the Jews didn't believe Jesus was the Son of God. Right there it is. Pleased Him to reveal His Son to me, that I would proclaim the good news about Jesus to the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? Everybody that's not Jewish. He was a Jew of the highest stature, thought he was going to always be a Jew. He was a Pharisee. No. Jesus met him on the road to Damascus, revealed Himself to him, said, I've called you to the world, serve me. He was called to the Gentiles. So God can reveal your destiny through people talking to you, through dreams you have, through your desires, a spoken word from somebody. They can say, you know what you ought to be? You ought to be a teacher. You've got a gift for teaching people how to do things. Or they might say, you ought to be a lawyer. You can think fast, you can think through difficulties, and you can speak what the law is. Maybe that's what it is. Businessman, businesswoman, you're really good in business. You're a good worker. But mainly, it's going to come from your heart. What you want to do, what you wish you could do, oh God, I'll put you first in my life, but I really hope I get to go to the nations and around the world and have adventures. Well, I did, and I do, and I'm still having it. I had to stop because of COVID, but I'm going. I've already been to 2 countries this year. So your call is your call. God can use you to do your call in the craziest places. Don't get in your head, okay, I'm a teacher, that means I have to be a school teacher. Well, I don't really want to be a school teacher. What? No, you don't know where He's going to put you. I'm on TV teaching you. Would have I ever thought that? I have a teaching degree. Did I ever want to teach school? I taught about 4 years. No, not for me. But I've been teaching the Bible, 50 years. My word. Long time. I love to teach the Bible. I'll do it out in the parking lot. All right, so how do I know this is going to happen to you? I've told you. I've told you God has a destiny. I've told you before you were born, He gave it to you. He planned it. I've told you it's going to come from something you're good at and you love to do and you have passion about it. I've told you how God's going to reveal it to you, the various ways He can do it. Now, I'm going to give you a verse that firms it up. Philippians 2:13. For it is God who is working in you. You're thinking, why do I want to do this? Like the guy I talked a few lessons back about, he's a professional wrestler. How do you want to be one? He just wanted to be one. And it was God's plan. And then He called him out to be a preacher. For it is God who is working in you, enabling you. Now listen to this, it's key. Enabling you both to desire and work out His good purpose for you. So God, this is the next thing you've got to understand. Once you know what it is, once you've given yourself to God and said, all right, I'm going to do it. I want to do it. Here I am. Use me to my highest potential. Let me do good. Let me be an influence for good. Use my life, God. All right, once all that's done and worked out, then God puts in you that desire, and then He opens doors for you. You may have to wait. I had to wait so long. Oh, it was so frustrating. But I didn't understand there was a time in history, modern history, that God would need a person like me, a woman like me, with my personality, my abilities, my experiences I've had all these years. God knew it. He wanted me to go tell people of God, to tell people about God and how I know God and how they can know God, to preach the gospel, to make disciples. If you're watching all these shows, I can guarantee you're being discipled by the Lord, because I love to disciple people. I love to mentor people. Well, the only reason not all people reach their God-given destiny is because they said no. Oh, how sad. There'll be a day of regret. You can even be a Christian and not reach your destiny because you wouldn't say yes. You said, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And you're going to go to heaven and cry at what God had for you. Also, it's going to be something you have to sometimes study very hard. I've studied hard to learn what I do. I've gone through great persecution. I've gone through great trials. I'm not saying it's going to come easy. So don't think because it's God's call on your life, oh, easy peasy. No. Listen, you have an enemy, and he will try to stop you, and he'll work through people to stop you, the devil. He doesn't want you doing your call. Whatever it takes to get you to quit, he'll do it. And I've had plenty of times. One of the things that I've had to learn is different languages. I can say Habari Yako. I can say that. I can say Kakjala, Kakdila, Ocean, Esteros. Well, I can speak Spanish. I can do that. I've studied that. But it's learning how to relate to people. They want to learn you talk to them in their language. I've learned that. Now, God has a general destiny, and most Christians will reach their general destiny. I want you to love me. I want you to go to church. I want you to help people. I want you to be kind to people. I want you to live a good life. And that's a general destiny. But God has a specific purpose. I've read you the verses that confirm that. And that specific destiny is the one you need to know clearly to avoid delays, to avoid getting off track, to avoid wasting time. And so let God open doors for you. But I want to tell you something. When you know it's God, whether you're scared or not, go through it. Don't say, well, maybe some other time. Don't do that. God knows when He's ready, and He's going to protect you. When I went to Pakistan for the first time, I went 2 times. People said, Betty, you're crazy. First of all, they said, you're going to Belarus, and they got communism just coming out from under that. There's still people that are communists there. And then they said, if you go to Africa, they got AIDS. They've got Ebola. I mean, don't go, Betty. Pakistan, Betty, they persecute Christians. They kill Christians. Don't do that. But I said, but God's calling me. I remember the first time God told me to start a jail ministry. Oh my goodness. People said, why are you working with jail people? They're losers. Well, did I not say to you at the beginning of this lesson, some of the greatest preachers come out of prison? So I believe that. I see them as valued. I want to tell you something. If you're in prison or you've been in prison, let go of that. Learn from it. Let it prepare you. Let it maybe send you to people who've been to prison. But I want to tell you something. It's not a badge you wear. It's not an identity you wear. It's something you went through that was unbelievably hard. But you survived. And now God's using you. Don't ever be embarrassed at the stuff you've done. I've done stuff I'm very embarrassed about. God's forgiven me. Has God forgiven you? He sure has, if you ask him to. If you said I was wrong, he sure has. So, do things and get around people who can encourage you in doing your destiny. Look for opportunities. And maybe there will be people that you have to know. And if you don't know them, you're not going to get your destiny. But I want to tell you something. It involves taking risks. I know that. It involves taking risks. And you're going to feel like you're jumping off the high board. You know about swimming, that real high board, that 50 meter, I think it is. I can't remember. 100 meter, I don't know. It's like jumping off a tall cliff. A lot of the time doing God's will. I've had times God's told me to do something. I was so scared to do it. I said, God, if you're not there, I'm going to go down like the Titanic. Now, maybe you don't know what the Titanic is. It was an unsinkable ship in the early 1900s. It'll never sink. Well, it hit an underground iceberg and it went down so fast, people died. So believe your destiny, believe God loves you, and he's got a destiny just for you.